Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Today TV. I'm Sakshi Batra and this is Market Today, a show where we'll help you understand with the closing action on the D Street, starting from the benchmark index moves to sectoral action and all the stocks that are buzzing the most in trade. We'll also get you expert views as to how should you be approaching the current market setup, where are the opportunities emerging for you as a potential buy and investment in the equity setup right now. We'll get you all of that, but first up, a quick check on how the markets are looking like as of now. Now, when we talk about the Nifty at this point, it's still comfortably holding above that 18,600 mark, up by about 84 odd points. The Sensex hovering about 330 points higher in trade at 62,874. Half odd percent of gains coming in for both the benchmark indices. The broader markets also participating into. You're looking at about 0.3% higher gains on the mid-cap 100 index, with almost a 5.5% uptick on the small-cap 100 index as well. Among the other sectors, the Nifty Bank is inched up higher with half odd percent gains, largely led by the private sector move in today's trading action. Financials also improving in trade in the second half of trading space, but it's the Nifty Auto that's shining absolutely bright in top gear. At those lifetime high levels as well. Apart from this, it's the metal stocks that have inched up higher, about half odd percent in today's trade. We've also seen some pickup happening in the pharma pack as well, about 0.4% odd is the move right here, 0.25% of a move on the realty space as well. But it's the PSU banks that are sulking today, FMCG, IT stocks. These are the big drags coming in on the overall market scenario. Now, when we talk about the gainers in today's trading action, of course, the auto basket is making most of the top 5 names as far as the Nifty gainers are concerned. You can see stocks like M&M, that's up 4% now at 1396. Tata Motors is up by 2% odd. You're also seeing Maruti Suzuki also up in trade. And apart from that, some of those banking names like Axis Bank and ICICI Bank, IndusInd Bank also moving up higher in trade right now. The pharma majors like Sun Pharma have now inched up higher over those 1,000 levels. Cipla also inching towards those 1,000 levels as well in today's trading action. But on the laggard side, when we talk about the Nifty losers, the big pressure coming in from some of the IT pack names like Tech Mahindra. Consumption names like Asian Paints, Divis Laboratories is sulking as well, 1.2% of a decline for this one. You're seeing Nestle, HUL from the FMCG basket also slightly down in trade. But let's welcome our guest on the show. Mr. Gaurang Shah joins in, Senior Vice President at Curated Financial. Welcome, Gaurang, and thank you so much for taking the time out for this discussion. Well, the big positive is that we've started another week on a higher note as well. But the big question again is, how long will the party continue? The Cinderellas of the world are now saying perhaps that midnight 12 o'clock is approaching fast. What are your thoughts?
Thank you so much, Sakshi, for inviting me on the show. And yes, you don't want anyone to pull the plug off music that has been playing on the street.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think prudence is required. And historically speaking, even if you go to see whenever markets have rallied like this, and as they approach to the all-time highs, there is always a pause and a breather, a little bit of profit taking before we go towards that all-time high and crossover. So we are also of that opinion that yes, we are well poised to go and revisit the all-time highs, and we have all the capabilities and capacities in place to cross over that. But before that, I think it is always prudent to expect a little bit of profit booking, range-bound movement on the market, base building exercise, as we call it, Sakshi. And
Right.
that will enable us to possibly go to the all-time high, cross that and stay. So we
Okay.
are possibly having some more time to cross over.
Okay. But as we roll into the second half of this calendar year, what is the best way to participate in the markets right now? What would you advise investors?
Well, a couple of sectors that we have listed down, Sakshi, for the benefit of the viewers. First will undoubtedly, first one will be banking and finance, both
Okay.
private as well as public, NBFC, autos, FMCG, cement and defense. I think these are 5 or 6 sectors which look extremely strong in terms of earning visibility,
Okay.
growth, and in terms of return on investment. And the reason why we say this is because the earnings that we have seen so far, especially with the last quarter, last financial year, it only reinforces our confidence in all these 5, 6 sectors.
Okay. And what's going to be the importance of this week's credit policy then from a market standpoint, since you talked about banking and financials as one of the themes that you will continue to track this second half as well, because the bank nifty is already at a new high, and most likely everybody knows that governor is not going to increase the rates if at all. What's going to be the sense that you would advise investors to approach banking and financials at this point?
Well, so my sense is that credit growth is going to be extremely, extremely strong, and that will drive the margins going forward from here on for banks and NBFCs. As far as 8th of June, if I'm not mistaken, is the date for the credit
Yeah.
policy. Yes,
Yeah.
so well, that's going to be a status quo again because there is no reason for the MPC or the governor to decide otherwise. But
Right.
what's going to be more important, Sakshi, is going to be the commentary, the verbatim, both on international front and domestic front in the state of economy that we are in. And of course, with the monsoons approaching virtually at our doorstep, I
Yeah.
think if the rain gods do not disappoint, then possibly we are in for a nice, long, sustainable, smooth ride up north.
Okay. One more point that I wanted to understand is that we are in the middle of a bull run. We are looking at this banking and financial space also from a point of view where the credit growth is at a high in the last 10 years as well. We are also in the middle of what could be seen as a strong financial inclusion on the back of the kind of digital payments and the rise of UPI that we are seeing. But at the same time, what we are looking at is like some of these AMC stocks, the brokerage stocks, all of them are at multi-month lows. Why is that happening, that disconnect?
So in markets, you always have pockets of outperformance, performance, and underperformance, and that's what the market is made up of, Sakshi. So
Yeah.
you are not going to see all across the sectors rallying. You will have
Yeah.
certain, and the concerns are there because of participation issue, because of earnings issue. So because of that reason, I think possibly you are seeing a little bit of kind of lull, if I can use that word, for these sectors. But I think if we expect the markets to do well, then all those entities which are associated with the Indian stock markets are likely to perform better on the earnings front as well.
Okay. Since you also talked about autos, and today is an interesting day because Nifty Auto has hit its record levels. We've seen that 14,500 mark for the very first time right there. A lot of things working in this space. We're looking at the monthly sales data as well come in, the FADA update. We're also seeing some of the concerns like semiconductors somehow easing off. What is the best way to approach this space? Would you go with the two-wheelers, the four-wheelers, or should one look at the tractor majors?
I don't think you should look at only one single vertical of the entire auto universe. I
Okay.
think you have to take everything into consideration. You have to have a bit of two-wheeler. You have to have some of four-wheelers.
Huh.
You definitely need to have CVs and tractor and agri equipment. So if you ask me for my top picks in the categories that I have lined up for you,
Sure.
I think Bajaj Auto and TVS Motors from the two-wheelers,
Okay.
M&M and Tata Motors from the four-wheeler space, as a pure commercial vehicle, Ashok Leyland, and as the tractor, agri equipment, earth moving equipment, if I have to put that entire into one universe, then I
Huh.
think you possibly have to go with Escorts.
Okay, so that's like a very comprehensive way of how you've explained to all our viewers how to look at the auto basket as a whole and include all of these stocks to get all that variety going for yourself in the portfolio and that diversification also going within the auto basket that is. But beyond the auto space, you also talked about the FMCG space where you believe that domestic consumption is going to be an important theme to track going forward as well. Would you go ahead with the ITCs, HULs of the world, the Britannias of the world? Would you go in for the mid caps here? How would you approach it?
Well, so our list is very long, to be very honest, and includes almost all the known names, the companies which manufacture products which definitely you and me and the mass generally uses. So yes, HUL, ITC are the names that you should go ahead with. Tata Consumer Products, Godrej Consumer Products, Dabur, Imami. I think I'll just keep it limited to this, and
Correct.
I'm quite confident, Sakshi, that if the rain gods do not disappoint, I think there's going to be a tremendous amount of tailwind positive for FMCG companies, not only from metros, tier 2, tier 3 cities, but also from the semi-urban and rural India, where the incomes will start ringing in on
Yeah.
fallback of the monsoons.
Yeah. On the back of the commodity cycle, how would you be really approaching some of these spaces like the oil and gas space, the metals pack, for example? How are they likely to trade in the second half of this year?
So I have a little bit of apprehension as far as oil and gas is concerned. Of course, Here again, there are different verticals. So if you ask me if I'm going to be concentrating on companies which are associated with city gas distribution network like Mahanagar Gas, Gujarat Gas,
Yeah.
Gujarat State Petronet, I think these companies will do well. Purely related to crude oil, sad part, Sakshi, is that when crude was sub $30 a barrel, these
Hmm.
companies didn't do much. When crude is at about 70, $75 a barrel, it's not doing anything other than the dividend payout ratio because of it being a government owned company. So we are positive, but the weightage is possibly a little bit less compared to the other sectors that we discussed.
Okay, and metals?
Metals, again, it's totally dependent on
Hmm.
what comes out of China. But we believe domestic demand is quite strong. And the verbatim given by some of the metal manufacturing companies with respect to price hikes as far as flat and long products are concerned, I think that augurs well. And one more positive, Sakshi, is that the input costs have come down and the margins have improved. So let's hope that things stay this way. Then definitely you can look at JSW, Hindalco, Tata Steel, maybe closer to 100, looks attractive.
Okay. Any particular sectors that you believe one should stay away from in the second half? Is it still going to be those IT stocks that are likely to remain laggard?
I don't think IT will be a laggard. In fact, we have a
Okay.
contra buy on IT because the entire
Okay.
world is a little bit light. And
Hmm.
to be very honest, I think sometimes it always pays off in equity markets to go into the opposition. So we are positive. There are difficult times, no denying about that, Sakshi. But that doesn't mean that you
Correct.
have to write off IT completely. So you need to have a little bit of IT also. And more importantly, Sakshi, I think mid-cap IT companies have done phenomenally well when you
Hmm.
compare earnings-wise or the share price. They have done reasonably well. So I think you should definitely look at both large cap and mid cap IT as well. One sector that you could possibly stay a little bit away or distance yourself is pharma, because I think
Okay.
one of those days of bad news as far as COVID is concerned or pandemic is concerned. Let's
Hmm.
hope we don't have to face any situation like that. So I think pharma will tend to underperform, and in fourth quarter also, pharma has kind of underperformed.
Okay. But what would you suggest investors in terms of Wipro? Now that's fixed record date for its share buyback. What would you advise investors here?
Well, so these are all short to medium term, more of a short term, till the time the offer stays alive. You will
Yeah.
see the action. And I think the action that we've seen today has
Hmm.
done that. I don't think any significant, correlation with the buyback. And Wipro, mind you, Sakshi has been one of the largest underperformers amongst the large cap names.
Yeah.
So, we have a buy call, but we prefer TCS and the HCL Tech and the Tech Mahindra of the world.
Okay. Staying with the tech space, we've been hearing so much about these buzzwords like artificial intelligence, chat GPT. Have you already jumped on the bandwagon, tried something for yourself? Are you looking for these themes also to emerge as big themes going forward as an investor's point of view?
So, these things come with a big bang and they disappear in thin air. And
Okay.
for AI, I hope that common sense prevails upon all those leaders and authorities in the way they use AI, because AI could be good in terms of the way you use it. It can be a blessing and it can be a curse as well.
So you'd be avoiding any kind of this space or opportunities that exist here.
And not, it's too early to jump the gun, Sakshi, to be
Yeah.
very honest. See what happened to the new age, new avatar unicorns. I mean, the
Yeah.
way they listed and where they are. So I think
Yeah.
one needs to hold on to your horses for a while. Let's just wait out, see the performance, and then take a call.
Okay, and I was coming to those unicorns as well, and at the new age space, we've been seeing as far as the earnings have come about, some of them have shown promise, most of them have actually looked at how losses have narrowed for them on the bottom line as well. Have things improved in your thoughts for some of them, if not all?
Well, so one company that I'll speak about, because we had a subscribe when the IPO was there, and we have a standalone recommendation on the fundamental side as well, and that is Zomato. I
Okay.
think the ONDC also played a little bit of havoc for this companies,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's a huge platform and there is a huge subscriber base, and I don't think that it's going to be concentrated to a particular platform as far as digital e-commerce is concerned. So everyone will get a fair portion of its credibility. So Zomato is something that we are positive. Others I would not want to comment because we don't have coverage.
And how about the real estate space? I mean, like we've been looking at how we've been seeing some buoyancy come about here too. Pre-sales figures have been exhilarating, but is that going to translate into a long-term structural positive story for real estate after those 7, 8 years of dire underperformance in this sector?
Well, so we are positive, but let me say this: we are positive with a advice of caution to the investors that this sector, that is real estate, still remains to be a high beta sector. You
Okay.
have to go with known, sound, strong names with credible balance sheet and management. So we like Shobha Limited, Prestige Estates, Godrej Properties, Oberoi Realty, to name a few. But
Okay.
again, Sakshi, the success of real estate company will depend
Huh.
upon whether they are able to repeat the performance in terms of launches.
Correct. That's absolutely right. So in the end, Gaurang, if I were to ask you top three of your picks for the second half of this year, what would they be?
Well, so we forgot about one particular sector, that is defense, and defense has done
Yeah.
phenomenally well. So we like defense, whether it is the HALs or the that is Hindustan Aeronautics, Bharat Dynamics, or BEL of the world. We
Mm-hmm.
like defense. Banking, we like names like Axis Bank, ICICI Bank, and amongst the public sector bank, Canara Bank and State Bank of India.
Okay.
Uh, we've discussed autos at length.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
IT, I think if I have to name two mid-cap names, then it
Mm-hmm.
will be KPIT Tech and Tata Elxsi.
All right. Well, thank you so much for those comprehensive list of names that you've suggested to all our viewers. Great speaking to you always, Gaurang, and thank you so much for taking the time out for this discussion. Right now, let's look at the markets. They've sold off from the top point of the day, about 228 points higher, still remaining on the Sensex, 62,772, about 0.3% of an uptick for this one. The Nifty has slipped below that 18,600 mark, about 54 points higher after days long of trade coming and, hovering near that 18,600 levels. You're actually seeing slight profits being taken off the table. But what looks to be seen is how are we going to shut shop? Are we going to still, because we're still 15 minutes away from the day's close of the day, are we still going to have some handsome gains as we close the day? And will that continue going forward in a week that is likely to see some important decisions on the macro level, especially the RBI's policy meeting coming about, even though most of the decisions are likely to be anticipated, as there could be no movement as far as the policy rates are concerned, but the commentary is going to be extremely important to understand which way is the economy headed and the interest rate policies and the trajectory on that is headed, and how will that impact the equity markets as well. We'll track all of that for you. So do stay tuned on to with us on Business Today TV to continue to be on top of your investment game as well. So don't forget to subscribe to this channel and continue to engage with us on our other social media platforms as well. Until then, many thanks for tuning in.